Welcome back to another Stu's Music Quiz. This week we're bringing you 2014. So we've jumped forward quite a bit towards the present day. Now, of course, for many of you out there, that means you know less, even though it's more recent. But I promise you, there's plenty in here for everyone, and I'm sure everyone's got a chance with this. As usual, 30 questions, 30 answers. Give you your best shot. Get a pen and pencil ready. Let me know how you get on afterwards. The answers will follow straight after the questions at the end here. Okay, let's get straight on and see how we're going. Okay, starting off with a few trivia questions. First of all, in 2014, Pharrell Williams joined the Beatles as the only acts to produce 3 records that sold 1 million copies each in the space of 12 months. Get Lucky was the first. Blurred Lines followed shortly afterwards. But which 2014 song completed the hat trick? Okay, so Pharrell, or Pharrell, however you like to pronounce it, joined the Beatles as the only acts that ever produced 3 records that each sold 1 million copies within 12 months. So 3 million sellers in the space of 12 months. It was Get Lucky and Blurred Lines in 2013. Which 2014 song completed the hat trick? Okay, another trivia one. Back in 2014, I'm sure you remember, U2 annoyed the entire country by forcing a free download of their album onto everyone's iTunes account. My question for you is, what was the name of that album? Many of you out there got it for free. What was its name? And number 3, which Geordie girl broke the record this year for most UK #1 singles by a British female solo artist? That was a 5th chart topper. So her 5th chart topper this year broke the record for the most UK #1 singles for a British female solo artist at the time. Who was she? Okay, let's move forward to some album covers here. Big star now, this one, this female solo artist. And a lot of her albums look a bit like this, have a similar kind of artwork. But who is she? This was her debut album. Who is she? Don't worry so much about the name of the album. What's her name? Now, what about this one? I've covered up the name and the title there, but a very distinctive cover. This was the first album in 8 years for this dance guru, shall we say? Whose first album 8 years was it? And then on a different front, this was a very highly critically acclaimed album. What's the album? Not the artist. What's the album? So they go 2 artists and an album for those 3 questions. Slight difference here. Here's a 2014 video from one of the big songs of there. Can you spot from this still what video it is? What song is this the video for? And another album cover from some American indie rockers. It's their 8th album. For many, it's their best. Who are they? Who are the group? Okay. Now, last week, I started doing some work with the biggest sellers of the year, giving you some little cryptic clues. Here, I'm going to just ask you some questions on each one of them, starting here with the biggest selling single of this year. This was the first song to hit #1 in the UK 3 separate times. So it hit #1, went off, went back up again, went off, went back up again. First time it's happened for over 50 years. What was that song? the biggest selling single of 2014? Now, the runner-up to it was a single by a group which began as a string quartet at Cambridge University. What is the name of that group? This was their first ever #1, second biggest seller of the year in 2014. They began as a string quartet at Cambridge University. Who are they? And the third biggest seller is from an American singer who has won an Oscar for a Best Original Song, played Jesus Christ on stage, that is, appeared in the film La La Land, and is currently a coach in the US version of The Voice. So you're just going to name the singer. He's the one who had the third biggest selling single of the year. All those true about him. Who are we talking about here? Been around for a while at this point. This is one of his biggest hits. Don't need the song though, just the man. Okay, and what about the biggest selling album of the year? Well, here's a cryptic, almost crossword-like clue for you. It's a sheer mathematical certainty, the biggest selling album of 2014. A sheer mathematical certainty that it was the best-selling album of the year. Well, there you go. Okay, let's move on to some cryptic albums here. Now, these are where I provide you with some pictures, which, if you can decipher them appropriately, will provide you with the name of a big selling album, or, well, if not big selling, certainly well-renowned album of 2014. You'll get the idea if you haven't done this before. So, for example, these two pictures, put them together, what album do you get? Now, I'll just remind you at this point that I'm not going to hang around long on these, but it's perfectly within my rules here for you to pause on any question and take your time if you need to think about it. There's no time limit on these. I'm going to move on to the next one now. Another cryptic album here, 3 pictures. It's not so much a say what you see, it's a look at what it is and think cryptically. And number 15. Put these two together, you have one of the big selling albums of the year. What is it? One of the biggest bands of the period. Okay, on to the complete the lyrics next. We're going to now I've got 5 for you this week. Again, you might recognize the song. All you got to do is fill in the missing words. The asterisks are the right number of letters, so that would help you as well. What about this? This hit, that ice cold, that white gold. Oh, you must recognize those lyrics. But what am I missing out? This hit, that ice cold, what, that white gold. Right from the end of the year, that one. What about this one? Yeah, it's pretty clear. I ain't no size 2, but I can shake it like I'm supposed to do. Because I got that boom boom that all the boys chase. All the right what? In all the right what? 2 words to fill in there. It's pretty clear. I ain't no size 2, the singer says, but I can shake it like I'm supposed to do. Because I got that boom boom that all the boys chase. All the right, in all the right. The number 1 there, that was. Okay, this was a number 1, but it's, oh goodness me, this song's everywhere, isn't it? Still is today. Hey, hey, hey. Just think, while you've been getting down and out about the liars and the dirty, dirty cheats of the world, you could have been getting down to, well, what could you have been getting down to? Just think, while you've been getting down and out about all the liars and the dirty, dirty cheats of the world, you could have been getting down to what? Love this song. I'm gonna fly like a bird through the night, feel my tears as they dry. I'm gonna, well, what are they gonna do? I'm gonna fly like a bird through the night, feel my tears as they dry. I'm gonna, what are they gonna do? Oh, I'm having to hold myself back from singing, but you're pretty pleased I don't, if you know what the song is. Right, and finally, if you have a daughter, a young daughter, get her in the room now. Anyone under the age of about 16, get her now. She'll get this for you. That perfect girl is gone. Here I stand in the light of day. Let the storm rage on. What's the next line? That perfect girl is gone. Here I stand in the light of day. Let the storm rage on. What's your next line? Hey, we're up to number 20 already. Only 10 left to go. How are you doing so far? Hope you've got some memories. Find out you know more about 2014 than you thought you did. Well, we're going to move on now to our Name That Tune round, which of course is the round in which I get around the draconian copyright practices over music by, rather than playing you a song, performing it myself on the piano. Of course, the only difficulty is I'm not a very good piano player. So I will just bash out a few notes and you've got to find that song. All of these were big hits at the time. Let's have a crack. Number 21, first of all. Okay, on to number 22. Big old song from the time. Let's try that one again, as there's not so much of it. Okay, and number 23. And finally for you, number 24. Okay. Popular tunes in 2014. Right, on the home straight now. First of all, we have a couple of comebacks questions. Yeah, for you oldies here, this is more up your alley, really, isn't it? Number 25. Which indie legends released their first album this year for 23 years? That's since 1991. Which indie legends released their first album for 23 years? Since 1991. That's a big gap, isn't it? Slightly less gap of a gap here. Which masked metalers released their first album for 6 years? Which masked metalers released their first album for 6 years? Inspired by a bit of tragedy, I gather, as well, this album. Okay, back into some trivia to finish. Right, which two icons of very different decades duetted together on the 2014 album Cheek by Cheek? I remember this. Two icons of very different decades duetted together on the album Cheek by Cheek. Who were they? Number 28. Now, you may well remember this, and I do. Who announced her first tour since 1979? And we thought that 23-year gap was big. Who announced her first tour since 1979? 35 years. Goodness me. Scramble for tickets was incredible, wasn't it? Number 29. Who performed together at the Grammys to celebrate their 50th anniversary? Now, there's your clue. It's 2014, remember? Who performed together at the Grammys to celebrate their 50th anniversary? 50th anniversary is a clue. Grammys also adds in a little bit extra, just in case. Number 30, the final one of this week's. Which song hit #1 in the UK for the 4th time with a 4th different group, all bearing the same name? That's a bit of a one-to-one tangle, isn't it? Right. So it's the same song, and it hit #1 in the UK for the 4th time. But each time it was performed by a different group, although each time that group had the same name. There's a thinker for you. 4 times #1 with 4 different groups, but all of those groups had the same name, or at least mostly the same name. Okay, there you are, 30 out of 30. I hope you enjoyed that. Right, I'm going straight on now to the answers. Let's see how you did on them. Right, let's start off with the trivia questions. First of all, I asked you about the person who had their 3rd million seller. What was that 3rd million seller Pharrell Williams had? It was, of course, the song Happy from his album 2014, Girl. There we are. Then I asked you about the U2 album that annoyed everybody. It was Songs of Innocence, supposedly boasted of as the largest album release of all time, as it went directly to 500 million users. You can see the idea behind it, can't you? But people just don't want to have something forced upon them, do they? It was also the longest gap between albums in U2's career, 5.5 years. There we are. The third question was about the British female artist who broke records with her 5th chart topper. It was Cheryl. I think she was just being called Cheryl at that point, not Cheryl Cole or anything. The 5th chart was I Don't Care. And that 5th one beat the record that previously was joint held by the twin forces of nature that are Jerry Halliwell and Rita Ora. There you go. 5 chart toppers. I want to give you a bonus if you could name all 5 of them, except I couldn't. Right, the album covers. Okay, the debut album. Do you get this? This is FKA Twigs and her album LP1. FKA Twigs. She's become quite a big thing since then. If you don't know her, worth listening. Apparently, the name comes from her nickname of Twigs, which she had, I think, when she was at school because her joints crack. But FKA is not formally known as it often is. It's apparently, according to her, just a random collection of letters that she thought sounded strong. There we go. Okay, the first album in 8 years, this one. This was, as you can hopefully see there, Aphex Twin's Cyro. Now, I mean, it was Aphex, the first album for 8 years under the name Aphex Twin. I mean, he hadn't been sitting there doing nothing for 8 years, done loads, his different projects, hasn't he? But the first Aphex Twin album for 8 years there. And if you got that one right, the critically acclaimed album. Well, there we are. The War on Drugs. Yes, many have got that, but did you get lost in dream? The most critically acclaimed album of the year, according to Metacritic, apparently. There we are. So there we go. There's your three. You had to get Aphex Twin, you had to get FKA Twigs, and here, Lost in Dream. Okay. The biggest selling single of the year? We've already had the answer once. Oh, sorry, I've jumped ahead of myself there. So we've got the video, first of all. The video with the Muppet. It's recognise him? The Muppet Ed Sheeran. This was Sing. Sing by Ed Sheeran, which was written with Farrell. Again, God, that man's turning up everywhere, isn't he, at the moment? It's certainly his period. And was actually Ed Sheeran's first #1, certainly not his last. Then, the final album cover, the Indie Rockers' 8th album. This was, of course, Spoon with They Want My Soul. What do you mean you never heard of him? Well, go out and listen to him now. Okay, now we get on to our biggest selling single of the year. And yes, it was Harry. Happy. God dear, Harry. Yes, Pharrell Williams' very famous tribute to Harry Redknapp, his favourite English manager. No, Happy by Pharrell Williams, which we've already mentioned before, was the biggest selling single of the year and the biggest selling single of the decade, I believe, as well. The second biggest selling single of the year was Rather Be by Clean Bandit, featuring Jess Glynne. Clean Bandit, they're the ones who started off as the string quartet at Cambridge University before they decided to mix a few things together. And then they chose the name Clean Bandit, which apparently comes from a Russian phrase. I think one of them was studying Russian. It comes from a Russian phrase which is similar in meaning to complete bastard. There we are. The third biggest selling single was All of Me by John Legend. John Legend. I thought the La La Land bit might have given it away a little bit. And yeah, apparently he did play Jesus Christ Superstar in a TV version, a TV filming of a stage production in America. There we are. This was about his fiancée, Chrissy Teigen, apparently. Oh, how sweet. The biggest selling album, surely you would have got this. Of course, it is X by Ed Sheeran. You saw what I was doing there. Mathematical certainty, because it's multiply, not X, isn't it? It's referred to multiply. A sheer math, Ed Sheeran, I know, but I just wanted to help you out, didn't I? Ridiculously big selling album, 12 times platinum, the third biggest selling album of the decade, the 20th best selling album ever. This is in the UK. I think it actually was pretty much the third biggest selling in America as well. I bet they were. And the most streamed album in the world in 2014. Yeah, I don't like it much, but never mind. The Cryptic albums, Left Shift to These. Look at this. What's that on the left? It's a salad. And they're counting off the days to the side. This is Salad Days, a wonderful album here by DeMarco here. Look at the man, Mac DeMarco. There he is. Lovely album. If you don't know it, go and listen to it. And apologies if you don't know it because you couldn't have got it right then. What about this one? You should have got this one. Look, no, you shouldn't have done that. Boy, you should have got this one. It's being cruel, isn't it, really? Look on the left there. That's Annie, isn't it? Annie in the musical has to be. Her and her dog there. But what's she singing? Tomorrow. Of course she's singing Tomorrow. And what's that next to it? That's the Tate Modern. And there's a guy pulling a load of boxes. This is the Tom York solo album, Tomorrow's Modern Boxes. Tomorrow's Modern Boxes. I said don't say what you see. I said you had to think around it. This one's a bit closer to Say What You See. What's that on the left? It's the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, isn't it? Ghost. And next to it, we have a very scary, Jack and Ori. Story is being read there by Philip Glenister. It is Ghost Stories, Coldplay's album of 2014. There we go. Let's move on. What about these lyrics here? This hit, that Ice Gold. Michelle Pfeiffer, that White Gold. This is Uptown Funk, isn't it? One of the great singles of the 2010s, and the great pop singles anyway. This hit, that Ice Gold. Michelle Pfeiffer, that White Gold. The opening lyrics to it. Yeah, it's pretty clear I ain't no size 2. Who's this? No. Meghan Trainor, all about the bass. She can shake it like she's supposed to do because she got that boom boom that all the boys chase. It's all the right junk in all the right places. It's another of that burgeoning collection of songs that are about the backside. Exactly. There we are. She apparently wrote it for Beyonce, who turned it down. I'm not surprised. It's I don't know. It doesn't sound very Beyonce to me. I mean, it made #1, but it doesn't sound very Beyonce to me, really. She's already done a booty song as well, hasn't she? Now, what about this? This is Miss Swift, isn't it? 1989 came out this year, one of her biggest albums, one of her most acclaimed albums as well. This is from Shake It Off. She gets to speak a little bit in a minute. Hey, 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 just think while you've been getting down and out about the lies and the dirty, dirty cheats of the world, you could have been getting down to this sick beat. There we are. And I'm going to fly like a bird through the nights, feel my tears as they dry. What else am I going to do? I'm going to swing from the chandelier, and so on. Yes, what a song. Sia. Fantastic, fantastic. And finally, on our Complete the Lyrics round, the one to get your daughter in for. Of course, this was the year of Frozen, or at least the songs from Frozen anyway. That perfect girl is gone. Here I stand in the light of day. This is Let It Go, of course. Let the storm rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway. Naming that tune. And did you get on with my bad piano playing? Well, first of all, did you recognise Timber? No. Pitbull featuring Keisha, I think. Anyway, don't tell me you've never heard it. Take Me to Church by Hosier. That was number 22. Number 23 was Sam Smith's Stay With Me. Yeah, his first biggie, I think. And number 24 was Jessie J, Ariana Grande, Nicki Minaj, and probably everybody else as well at the same time singing Bang Bang. All these were big hits. If you don't know them, you need to sit back in that time machine and go and listen to some pop music. Right, let's move on to the comebacks. Who were the indie darlings who came back after all that time? It was Pixies. It was Pixies. I love Pixies, the band, not the actual little creatures, but Indie Cindy, bit of a letdown. Some things are better left alone. I mean, it didn't help the fact, of course, that it was Kim Deal. It wasn't performing on the album for the first time, and she's, a bigger part of Pixies as we see. But there we are. Never mind. Move on. Who made the comeback after a short amount of time? The masked metalers was, of course, Slipknot, who came back still going. I wouldn't imagine Slipknot would have lasted that long, but they did. There we go. Metal legends. Right into the last run here. The last trivia questions. First of all, who performed this duet album, Cheek to Cheek? The two icons, it was Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett. If you remember that, it's a big album that was. Lady Gaga really, for the first time, I think, for a lot of people, showing what she's made of and what she can do. Okay, then the first tour since 1979 was Kate Bush. That really came out of the blue, didn't it? People didn't really expect that at all. Only toured right back at the beginning of the career, didn't she? Number 29, it was Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr who performed at the Grammys for their 50th anniversary, the 50th anniversary of the Beatles. Now, you might say, hang on, the Beatles didn't start in 1964. Well, didn't even have the first hit in 1964. Well, this is the point. We're talking America, aren't we? 50th anniversary of them hitting America. See, the Grammys, that's how it goes in there. If you said the Beatles, I'll let you off. even though quite obviously 2 of them are dead. But I'll let you off if you said that. Number 30, finally, did you manage to work this one out? Remember, 4th time at number 1, 4 different groups, but all working under the same name. Of course, it was Band-Aid. Band-Aid 30 this time it was. We had Band-Aid. Band-Aid 2 came in 5 years later. Then Band-Aid 20 years later. And then Band-Aid 30. And the only one in common across there was Bono, apart from 2. No one did all 4. He wasn't on number 2 because he wasn't a Stock Aitken and Waterman label freak, really, was he? Okay, how did you get on out of 30? How did you get on out of 30? Hope you did well. Let me know how you got on. Thanks so much for taking part. There will be a new quiz next week. Please, please, please remember that, as you can see down the bottom of every slide and down the bottom of this one, I'm raising money here at my Just Giving page for the wonderful Young Minds UK charity. Please, please go on and just give me a little bit. I'm desperately trying to move that money up and make something out of it. This is why I'm doing it. So please, if you've enjoyed it at all, just give a little. And do subscribe to this page. The more people subscribe, obviously, the more attention I can get, and hopefully the more money I could make. So hope to see you back for the quiz next week. Hope you enjoyed it. If you do have any feedback at all, if there's anything you liked, didn't like, let me know. Bum me a message on Twitter or whatever. My handle's at Stuart Hoskin. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.